You know those trailers that pop up and make you think, there's no way this is actual gameplay? Well, these are real. Today we're going to look at 10 new games with graphics so absurd they look like CGI, but they actually exist, and some are closer to release than you might imagine. Don't believe it? Then get comfortable on the couch because the video is about to start. Blight Survival is a game that delivers a medieval horror action experience with a heavy dose of oppressive atmosphere and brutal mechanics, all wrapped in visuals that are truly impressive. The game places you in a world devastated by the Blight, a plague that transforms humans into grotesque creatures and the undead. Your mission, along with up to 3 friends, is to survive and attempt to destroy the source of this infection, consuming the land. The gameplay blends elements of roguelite, extraction, and survival, focusing on cooperation and risk and reward progression. The game's graphics are undoubtedly one of its greatest assets. Utilizing Unreal Engine 5, Blight Survival showcases detailed environments, from misty swamps to burnt villages and haunted forests, all with lighting and textures that give the game a sense of realism rarely seen in survival horror games. Each enemy has a unique and disturbing appearance, like the Swelter, grotesque creatures that emit toxic clouds, and the Bellowers, whose screams attract hordes of the infected. The variety of creatures and attention to detail make every encounter a tense and visually striking experience. Combat is visceral and demands strategy. The combat system is directional, allowing you to choose the angle of attacks, blocks, and parries, making every confrontation more tactical and less repetitive. The game also features mechanics like chambering, where you can dodge or deflect enemy attacks and counterattack immediately. The progression system allows you to unlock passive skills and upgrades to use in future matches, even if your character dies. This mix of risk, reward, and customization makes every run unique and full of tension. The world of Blight Survival is immersive, with varied biomes and day-night cycle mechanics that affect both the environment and enemy presence. The game has no fixed classes, so you can fully customize your character, from armor to combat style, giving players the freedom to create a unique identity in this dark universe. The camp serves as your safe haven, where you can forge equipment, plan strategies, and store resources collected during missions, adding a layer of management and building to the gameplay. Personally, Blight Survival won me over with its dense atmosphere, enemy variety, and constant sense of danger. Every visual detail, from the toxic smoke to the desperate movements of the infected, grips me from start to finish. The game has everything to be one of the major highlights of the survival horror genre in the coming years, especially for those who enjoy brutal challenges, tense cooperation, and worlds that truly seem to breathe horror and despair. If you like games like Dark Souls or Resident Evil, but want something heavier and more immersive, Blight Survival deserves your full attention. Crimson Desert is an open-world action RPG set on the fictional continent of Pywell, featuring a medieval fantasy setting torn apart by war and mysterious forces. The player takes on the role of Cliff, a member of the Greymanes, a group in conflict with rival factions and supernatural threats. The FAKES narrative revolves around reuniting the scattered members of the Greymanes and restoring order while facing off against the enemy leader Myrdin, placing the player in an epic journey filled with intense battles and strategic decisions. The game's graphics are impressive, standing out for their visual quality and open-world atmosphere. Developed on the Blackspace engine, Crimson Desert offers vast and detailed landscapes, with rich textures and long draw distances that create the sensation of a living, dynamic world. The lighting is carefully crafted to highlight combat scenes and cinematic moments, with visual effects including blood splatters, fire explosions, and realistic weather variations that further enrich the immersion. The gameplay features a fluid combat system packed with actions that allow the player to combine melee attacks, magic, and tactical moves like dodges and parries. Fighting everything from human soldiers to mythical and gigantic creatures, Cliff can unleash incredible combos that elevate every duel into a visual and strategic spectacle. The game also offers various magical abilities for crowd control and traversing the battlefield, keeping combat varied and dynamic. Exploring Pywell is a rich experience, with a variety of biomes, side quests, and challenges that complement the main plot. The game emphasizes decision-making that affects story development and alliances with different factions. Mounts and grandiose boss battles complement the title's epic feel, while the open world invites free exploration and the discovery of secrets. Character creation and customization are also strong points, allowing for a personalized experience for every player. I strongly believe Crimson Desert will deliver a visually incredible adventure with gameplay that balances intense action and strategy well without losing the charm of a medieval fantasy RPG. The dense setting and graphics aren't just beautiful, they help build a world that feels real and alive, which counts a lot for me when diving into a story. The combat system is technical and brutal, reminding me of titles that mix weight behind the hits with fluidity, making every fight fun and challenging. For those who enjoy action RPGs with an epic vibe and incredible visuals, Crimson Desert is one of those games you'll want to explore for hours. I just hope the performance remains stable given the size and richness of the setting.
Blight, so shuffle off this mortal coil and join your mother.
Black State is a third-person action shooter that blends espionage, tactical gunplay, and stealth mechanics in a dark, futuristic setting, taking place after a cataclysmic event. You are summoned by a secret organization of scientists to rescue hostages and uncover the truth behind this collapse. The game features an engaging narrative full of mysteries and plot twists, with a very strong focus on a tense atmosphere and the immersion of a post-apocalyptic world dominated by human forces and relentless robotic enemies. What grabs the most attention in Black State are the graphics. The game runs on Unreal Engine 5 and delivers nearly photorealistic visuals with reflections, dynamic lighting, and incredibly detailed environments that give the feeling of being in a high-quality cinematic production. The trailers and demos show clinical labs, merchant ships, abandoned museums, and devastated urban landscapes, all with meticulous attention to detail. The visual effects of gunfire, explosions, and even blood trails are carefully crafted, making every action feel even more impactful and raw. The gameplay is a fluid mix of stealth, tactical shooting, and melee combat. You need to use weapons, gadgets, and strategic movement to stay alive in environments filled with patrols, sensors, and Robo-Sapiens enemies that react intelligently and can call for reinforcements if they detect you. The instant portal system is one of the game's main innovations, allowing for seamless transitions between completely different locations without loading screens, adding constant surprise and risk to the gameplay. Every choice matters, from when to use slow motion to disarm enemies, to the moment you explore areas to discover clues and secrets. The bosses are brutal and imposing, requiring tactics and courage to face, and the human enemies possess unique skills that make confrontations unpredictable. Melee combat features over 100 cinematic finishing animations, making every encounter violent and spectacular, in a clear homage to Quentin Tarantino action movies and the most intense sequences of Metal Gear Solid. Personally, Black State impressed me with its visual boldness and the construction of a world that blends advanced technology, mystery, and raw violence. The game manages to be both technical and cinematic, something we rarely see in current action titles. The portal mechanics, enemies that evolve their tactics, and breathtaking visuals make the game a tense, intelligent, and visceral experience. If you enjoy games like Metal Gear Solid, Death Stranding, or Christopher Nolan thrillers, Black State is one of those titles that truly deserves attention for its atmosphere and visual care. Pragmata is a sci-fi action-adventure game that puts you in control of Hugh, an astronaut sent to investigate a lunar research station that simply went silent. There, he meets Diana, a mysterious android who becomes his partner in both story and gameplay, and together they must survive in an environment completely overrun by hostile AIs, strange anomalies, and an atmosphere of absurd isolation. The promise is a more serious and contemplative plot, with that melancholic sci-fi vibe that mixes loneliness in space with moments of connection between the two protagonists. The graphics in Pragmata are, without exaggeration, the kind of thing that makes you pause the video just to stare at the screen. Capcom is betting on a super clean, futuristic look full of details in the lunar station, particles, helmet reflections, volumetric lighting, and very natural body animations, all designed to leverage current-gen hardware. The most recent trailers show everything from claustrophobic corridors to more open areas of the base, with a use of light and shadow that strongly reinforces the feeling of being trapped in a technological labyrinth, beautiful and yet threatening. In terms of gameplay, Pragmata mixes third-person shooting with a very unique hacking system, where combat only truly flows when Hugh and Diana work together. The idea is that robotic enemies have practically impenetrable armor, so you need Diana to initiate a sort of real-time puzzle. While she hacks, you keep dodging, using your jetpack for dash and positioning, and only after breaking their defense do your shots actually start dealing damage. This creates a battle rhythm very different from the standard point and shoot, almost like a dance between action and puzzles at high speed. Beyond combat, the game features the Shelter, a safe base where you return to upgrade weapons, improve Hugh's armor, unlock new skills for Diana, and better plan your next incursions into the station. This cycle of go on a mission, get beaten up, return, get stronger, and try again gives Pragmata almost a tactical progression feel rather than just a linear campaign. The fact that you can revisit areas, test new builds, and explore different weapons reinforces this sense of a game that rewards those who like to tinker with systems, optimize builds, and hunt for secrets across the map. I thought Pragmata gives off that vibe of a different project from Capcom. One that doesn't live solely on unbridled action, but bets on atmosphere, character, relationships, and combat that demands attention all the time. The mix of ultra-futuristic visuals, spatial loneliness, and real-time puzzles reminds me a bit of the feeling of playing something experimental, almost a hybrid between shooter, puzzle game, and sci-fi drama. It's the type of game that, if it delivers on its promise, won't just hook you with absurd graphics, but with the desire to understand that world, master the synergy between Hugh and Diana, and feel the learning curve of both the player and the characters. For those who enjoy denser sci-fi, cold and beautiful space aesthetics, and combat with a strategic twist, Pragmata is one of those titles that make you want to follow closely until launch.
What is that?
Freedom. Our freedom.
Kingmakers is a sandbox action and strategy game that mixes time travel, third-person shooting, and large-scale medieval combat in a way that can only be described as pure creative insanity. You are a special forces operator from the future, sent 500 years into the past to medieval England in the 1400s, armed with assault rifles, grenade launchers, armored vehicles, and even helicopters, all to change the course of a bloody war and prevent a future apocalypse. The premise is absurd, but that is exactly what makes the game so attractive. You literally bring modern arsenals against thousands of knights, archers, and medieval soldiers in epic and chaotic battles. The graphics and scale of the game are impressive. Running on Unreal Engine, 4 developers chose this version specifically for its superior speed and physics processing. Kingmakers simulates thousands of soldiers in real time, all with individual artificial intelligence that allows them to navigate complex, multi-story castles with the same precision as a modern shooter. Furthermore, all buildings are fully navigable and destructible, with dynamic physics that make walls collapse, towers crumble, and entire structures turn to dust under heavy automatic fire and explosives. The combination of detailed medieval landscapes with massive destruction effects creates a unique and spectacular visual contrast. The gameplay alternates between frantic third-person action and real-time strategy. In shooter mode, you fight directly on the front lines, using modern weapons to face medieval hordes arriving by the thousands, recalling the intensity of games like Left 4 Dead, Helldivers 2, or World War Z, but with medieval soldiers instead of zombies. In strategy mode, you can switch to an overhead view and command your own medieval armies, positioning cavalry, archers, and infantry, building fortifications, and coordinating large-scale attacks against enemy castles. This mix of genres creates a totally new experience, where you can be in the middle of the chaos one moment and observing everything from above to plan your next, move the next. The cooperative mode for up to 4 players is another huge highlight. Each player can command their own army of thousands of soldiers, build their own fortifications, and coordinate joint or individual attacks, all in real time and with the same responsiveness as a solo campaign. The experience promises to be fully cooperative with no compromises, meaning you and your friends can literally rewrite the history of medieval England together, choosing to fight for England, Scotland, or Wales, with multiple possible endings depending on your choices. Personally, Kingmakers is the type of game that makes me smile just thinking about the crazy premise. Grabbing an AK-47, hopping into a helicopter, and destroying a medieval castle while thousands of medieval soldiers try to stop you with swords and bows. But beyond the madness, the game seems to have real depth in both combat and strategy, and the scale of the battles is something we rarely see in current games. The destructible physics, thousands of simulated units, and full co-op make Kingmakers seem too ambitious to be true, but if the developers can deliver all of this stably, it will be a unique and addictive experience. For those who enjoy chaotic shooters, real-time strategy, and concepts completely out of the box, Kingmakers is one of those games you simply need to try. Cinder City is an open-world tactical MMO shooter set in an alternative, post-apocalyptic version of 23rd century Seoul, where three distinct timelines have merged into a single chaotic reality: the 10th century Byzantine Empire, modern 21st century Seoul, and a hyper-advanced 23rd century version. You are a super soldier named Knight, and your mission goes far beyond surviving the chaos. Amidst massive battles against human factions, mutant creatures, and giant mechs, you also search for your missing daughter, adding an emotional and personal layer to the epic narrative unfolding in this devastated world. The graphics are simply brutal in the best possible way. Built on Unreal Engine 5 with full support for DLSS 4, full ray tracing, and NVIDIA Reflex, Cinder City delivers photorealistic visuals that impress in every detail. From the ruins of futuristic skyscrapers mixed with ancient Byzantine architecture to dynamic lighting effects, real-time reflections, and dust particles dancing in the air during intense combat. The seamless open world stretches over 30 square kilometers, recreating real locations of Seoul devastated and reimagined, creating a rare sense of immersion and a dense atmosphere blending cyberpunk, dystopia, and sci-fi horror. The gameplay is an ambitious hybrid mixing third-person tactical shooter, MMO elements, and large-scale combat. The shooting system is realistic and responsive, but expands with futuristic abilities provided by customizable combat suits, active camouflage, jetpacks, healing fields, and energy barriers are part of the tactical arsenal. You can use drones for reconnaissance, plan silent ambushes, or go straight for explosive confrontations against hordes of zombies, grotesque creatures, and colossal bosses. The game supports hundreds of players simultaneously in massive open-world battles, but also offers instance dungeons for squads of 4 to 6 players, creating variety in the pace and intensity of missions. One of the most exciting mechanics is the integration of vehicles and mechs into combat. Just like in Titanfall, you can hijack and pilot heavily armed bipedal mechs, creating a dynamic battlefield where infantry, light vehicles like bikes and helicopters, and massive mechs collide in brutal asymmetric warfare. This mix of combat scales keeps every encounter unpredictable and strategic, forcing you to constantly adapt tactics depending on available resources and the enemies ahead. Personally, Cinder City won me over with the ambition of mixing a personal, emotional story with the massive scale of an MMO shooter. The search for a missing daughter in the middle of the apocalypse creates a narrative tension rare in multiplayer games, and the breathtaking visuals make every mission feel like a sci-fi action movie. The tactical combat with jetpacks, drones, and giant mechs brings that sense of progressive power I love, and the possibility of facing hundreds of players and creatures at the same time promises controlled chaos in just the right measure. If NCSoft can balance the solo narrative with MMO elements and keep performance stable in this gigantic world, Cinder City has everything to be one of the most remarkable releases of 2026. For those who enjoy Destiny 2, The Division 2, or even Titanfall but want something denser and more cinematic, this game deserves your full attention. Phantom Blade Zero is an action RPG blending steampunk, Chinese martial arts, and a touch of dark occultism, creating what developers call Kung Fu Punk. You control Soul, an elite assassin betrayed by his own organization, the Order, and Left 4 Dead. Saved by a mysterious doctor, Soul has Deferiaze. Only 66 days to live to uncover the truth and seek revenge. This countdown adds narrative weight to the journey, but what truly shines here is how the game manages to mix the elegance of wuxia films with raw, accelerated brutality. Visually, the game is an oriental, gothic spectacle running on Unreal Engine 5. The art direction steers away from the colorful standard of many RPGs, betting on a dark, rainy, and oppressive palette, lit by red lanterns and subtle neons that give a constant air of mystery. Settings range from decrepit temples to villages taken over by cultists, all rendered, with incredibly detailed textures and animations that look like cinema choreography. It's that type of graphic that isn't just technically advanced, but has such a strong visual identity that you recognize the game just by glancing at a single frame. Combat is where Phantom Blade Zero really stands out and distances itself from the just another Souls-like label. The action is much faster, reminiscent of classics like Ninja Gaiden or Devil May Cry, but with a combo chain mechanic that allows you to execute complex attack sequences without needing to memorize absurd inputs. You have two main weapons and two secondary ones like cannons and axes, and the fluidity between blocking, parrying, and counterattacking is addictive. The system rewards intelligent aggressiveness, making you feel like an untouchable kung fu master when you hit the rhythm of the fights. The game world adopts a semi-open structure inspired by the level design of classic Dark Souls pre-Elden Ring, with interconnected maps full of shortcuts and vertical secrets. Exploration is rewarded not only with items, but with alternative routes that can make your life easier against bosses or ambushes. And speaking of bosses, they are grotesque and require quick pattern reading, mixing supernatural monsters with skilled human warriors that test all your defensive and offensive reflexes. In my opinion, Phantom Blade Zero is a real treat for those who, like me, grew up playing hack and slash and beat ups but want something with modern visual depth. It manages to capture that feeling of power and speed from old fighting games and translate it into a third-person action RPG without losing complexity. If you enjoy the aesthetic of kung fu movies mixed with horror and want combat that makes your palms sweat from the speed rather than just punitive difficulty, this game needs to be on your radar. It's stylish, fast, and has a personality missing in many AAA titles today. Directive 8020 is a survival horror and interactive drama game developed by Supermassive Games, serving as the fifth title in the Dark Pictures anthology series. Set in space, the game puts you in command of the crew of the colony ship Cassiopeia, which crashes on Tau Ceti F, a distant planet, humanity's last hope after Earth began to die. The greatest danger, however, is an alien creature that can mimic any crew member, creating a constant atmosphere of paranoia, fear, and uncertainty about who is a friend or foe. The graphics of Directive 8020 are impressive, using Unreal Engine 5 to deliver realistic and cinematic visuals that elevate the game's tension. The atmosphere is built with dynamic lighting, intense shadows, and environmental effects that amplify the space horror experience. The design of the planet, the ship, and the imposing creature is detailed, with rich textures and fluid animations, making every moment of stealth and pursuit even more engaging. The lighting mechanics and the use of the flashlight beam, which can give away your position, dramatically increase immersion in suspense sequences. In terms of gameplay, Directive 8020 places a strong emphasis on Stealth and survival, as players have no weapons to directly confront the alien. You must explore, avoid the enemy carefully, and use tools like scanners and hacking skills to advance. Unlike previous games in the series, character movement has been smoothed for better control, and there is the introduction of the turning points mechanic, which allows players to rewind critical decisions to avoid permanent deaths, making the experience more flexible in standard mode, while survival mode maintains total tension by preventing this rewind. The story unfolds over 8 episodes, alternating between 5 protagonists with their own motivations and backstories, and the choices made drastically change the course of the narrative. The growing tension among the crew, the alien threat, and the planet's secrets create a plot rich in paranoia and mystery, with strong themes of trust and end survival. The narrative is supported by performances from talented actors and cinematic scenes that deepen the personal drama of each character, elevating Directive 8020 to more than just a horror game, but an emotionally engaging experience. Personally, Directive 8020 caught my attention with how it mixes horror, sci-fi, and human drama with visuals that genuinely scare and impress. The idea of being constantly hunted by an enemy that can pose as anyone on your team creates a paranoia that I find much more sophisticated than the obvious monsters in many genre games. The stealth gameplay, combined with the ability to go back in time to fix mistakes, brings a perfect balance between challenge and fun for those who enjoy difficult decisions and intense survival. Plus, the ultra-realistic graphics make every tight space on the Cassiopeia and every encounter with the alien a visual experience that holds your attention from start to finish.
What is that?
Coolant, maybe? Could have leaked during the impact.
The override ports are right there. That did the job. Can we go home now?
Agreed. Back to the airlock.
The Witcher 4, still officially called Polaris, is the next big single-player RPG from CD Projekt Red, and marks the beginning of a new saga within the Witcher universe. From what has already been said in interviews and previews, the focus of this new phase seems to revolve around Ciri, with the story following her footsteps as a Witcher on a journey across the continent after the events of the original trilogy. In other words, it's not just another Witcher. It is literally the kickoff of a new timeline designed to span several games and reopen this world for an entire generation of players. Speaking of graphics, which is the main course here, the game is being built from the ground up on Unreal Engine 5, in direct partnership with Epic, precisely to create a more stable open world that is visually far more ambitious than anything the series has had before. The first tech demo, shown at the State of Unreal 2025, featured Ciri riding through a forest and entering a city with ray tracing on, running at 60 frames per second on a base PS5, which in itself is a huge sign of the technical level they are aiming for. Technically, the studio and Epic spoke of heavy use of nanite for vegetation, new animation systems, and metahuman for crowds, all focused on filling the scenery with details without killing performance. In terms of the world, several reports point out that the adventure is expected to take place mainly in the region of Kovir, a wealthy and relatively unexplored place in previous games, which opens up room for luxurious cities, coastal landscapes, and strong contrasts with the poorer areas of the continent. The promised tone remains classic Witcher. Dark fantasy, morally gray areas, difficult decisions with no right answer, and consequences that drag on for a good part of the campaign. For me, the combination of a new setting with this heavy writing style is perfect for leveraging the more realistic graphics, because every face, every destroyed village, and every bizarre creature gains much greater visual impact when the world is built with this level of detail. On the gameplay side, a lot is still under wraps, but CDPR keeps repeating that they want a more reactive, open world with more room for choices and long-term ramifications than in previous games. This partnership with Unreal is also sold as a way to deliver more fluid exploration, less hidden loading, and more complex systems for AI, physics, and real-time crowds, all working together to make the continent truly alive. There are no finalized gameplay videos yet, so anything beyond this is speculation, but just what has been shown in terms of technology gives an idea that they want a generational leap, not just a turbocharged Witcher 3. Personally, The Witcher 4 is that type of game I look at and think, okay, this is the level the current generation was saving its ammo for. Seeing Ciri, a horse, and a simple forest running with global illumination, reflections, and an absurd density of details already conveys that feeling of a physical, almost palpable world, which fits perfectly with the series' more mature vibe. At the same time, after everything that happened with Cyberpunk 2077, you can feel that CDPR is much more careful, preferring to show a controlled tech demo, talking about a launch window only after 2027, and reinforcing that the focus is stability and immersion. Honestly, that leaves me more confident than any bombastic trailer. If they truly manage to deliver this vision, a gigantic, dense Witcher world with the usual narrative weight and graphics that look like true next-gen, it has everything to be one of those RPGs that define an era.
Shady characters or overhear gossip from other lands. It's also where Ciri took on her current contract. High-tech, let's leave Kelpie here and explore the marketplace and food. I'm so excited we can finally show you some of this stuff. Let's see what Valdros has to offer.
Bugger. Not her again.
Hey, not even at the Land Exeter Fair! Now, 9 gazes while I present him with a fish. For the furry rascal will often wink, and the fair's weight grants good fortune.
Black Myth: Zhong is a single-player action RPG that dives deep into Chinese mythology, centering the narrative and gameplay on the legendary demon hunter Zhong, a folkloric character known for capturing evil spirits and protecting the human world. The game is developed by Game Science, the same creators of the acclaimed Black Myth Wukong, and promises a darker and more brutal approach to combat with an RPG vibe that combines traditional martial arts with supernatural powers based on incantations and exorcisms. Visually, the game is an impressive spectacle running on Unreal Engine 5 and fully exploring modern graphic resources like ray tracing, volumetric lighting, and ultra-realistic textures. Each environment is carefully crafted to reflect a mystical and oppressive atmosphere, from ancient temples and shadowy forests to infernal supernatural plains, all with a gigantic level of detail. The art direction draws inspiration from traditional Chinese architecture and folkloric elements, presenting a rich visual identity that is very distinct from Western games in the same category. The gameplay is expected to maintain the heavy combat standard a la Souls-like, but with interesting innovations such as the use of tactical skills and specific tactics from Chinese culture, including the use of talismans, spirit summons, and a fighting style that blends brutality with elegant kung fu moves. Zhong fights not just with brute force, but with a combination of magic, strategy, and exorcism, which should bring an extra layer of tactical depth to battles against demonic enemies and powerful bosses. The game world is an extension of rich Chinese mythology, offering a setting full of legends, mythological monsters, and spiritual themes that significantly differentiate the title from other RPGs focused on European medieval fantasy. The idea is to bring to life a universe where past, future, and enchanted elements cross paths, creating an experience that is both educational and engaging, showcasing cultural traditions in an interactive and captivating way. This cultural integration is one of the strong points highlighted by the developers and promises to be a narrative and visual differentiator. Personally, Black Myth Zhong seems to me like a game that goes beyond absurd graphic quality or challenging combat to deliver a people-turning, absurd, culturally rich, and visually unique experience. The combination of Chinese tradition with modern RPG and action techniques packaged in cutting-edge graphics makes it clear that the studio wants to create something that not only impresses technically, but tells a story and offers a distinct universe in the global gaming scene. For those who enjoy difficult RPGs, mythological stories, and graphics that look like they came out of an epic movie, Black Myth Zhong is that title promising to be not only a visual masterpiece, but an unforgettable journey.
Brother, help me here. You ain't even trying. It's all me. Look at that belly of yours. Where's the mountain? Hey, you're falling flat, losing again. Drop that coswallop. Master will take us back. As long as we keep that mountain in her heart.